By rights, Chris Powell would have every legitimate excuse to be more than happy with an ordinary life. Instead, he's overcome his limits to become a teacher, author, motivational speaker, and an athlete. Chris joins us on Walking the Walk to share his story and to help you overcome your limits.
Welcome to Walking the Walk, the program for people who want to become better leaders and leaders who want to become better people. Start walking the walk with your host, renowned leadership speaker and author of The Sensei Leader, Jim Bouchard.
Chris was born with cerebral palsy and he has limited use of his hands. He's experienced frequent falls because of this. As a young child, he needed assistance from his family just to accomplish minimal tasks. Dressing, feeding, and bathing were some of the daily activities that his family helped him with. In 1998, Chris received his bachelor's degree in mathematics from the University of Maryland. And on the day of graduation, Chris actually walked to receive his degree. Although it took 10 years for Chris to receive a degree, it was well worth it. It was a dual accomplishment. Not only did Chris receive the degree, but he attained valuable life skills in the process. Constant drive and determination led Chris to fulfill his goal. And you're going to understand a little bit more about why I'm making such a big deal about it when you meet Chris. Chris, thanks so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you, Jim. It's such a pleasure.
Uh-oh, Chris, I can. We're having some technical difficulties. Can you talk to me once more, please?
Oh, sure. Yes, Jim.
There you go. I'm sorry we lost you there for a second. I
Okay.
think everyone else heard you. I don't think I heard you. So
Okay.
hopefully I'll go in. I'll edit that out later on. But anyway, let's get right into it. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background and why overcoming your limits is something that's so special to you?
Well, thanks again, Jim, for having me once again. I was born with, like you mentioned, CP, which is called cerebral palsy. And it's a condition that affects my speech, my arms, my legs. Like you mentioned, I took quite a few falls as a child. I wasn't able to write a pencil. So I was in special education, K-12, as a child. One thing that always stood out to me was that I knew that I had a condition, but in my mind, I was like, if I can just do certain things, maybe I can get around these challenges. So I had to really take my whole life and figure out ways to get around things that maybe I didn't think I could do or others didn't think I could do. And it gave me a great drive for life because I realized that if I could show others what I could do, they would say, maybe we didn't fully realize your capacity, even though we saw you on the outside, we just didn't necessarily see what's in the inside. So I never looked at myself as having a condition or a disability or, the word that used to be called handicap, because I really wanted to get more focused on exactly what the problem was.
Mm-hmm.
So basically that's how I went about my life.
It's easy for people to think about their own problems so much, and we all do. I think that's very natural. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that. But when we meet somebody like yourself who, for daily tasks, you have to overcome a lot of obstacles and limitations. How do you, as a motivational speaker and as a coach now, I guess here's the question, and I'm saying it lighthearted because I got to know you on your show a little bit, so I know you appreciate the spirit I intended in. But how do you take us seriously when we sit here and start complaining about our lives when you've had to overcome so many things that we take for granted?
Well, I realized over time, and it took me a long time to realize this, is that we all have challenges and problems in our lives. And a lot are basically right between our ears. It's not mine. It's not my brain. If we start to believe certain things about ourselves, then usually that's what tends to happen. If you believe that you're going to be great, it's a great start because you're like, okay, I know I can do this, but now I need to do some work. But like you just said, for me, for I would say, for example, for me, a victory may be just being able to go to the bathroom. A victory might just be getting off my couch. A victory for me might be just getting down my stairs without, falling down. Or a victory for me might be just walking
Right.
without, falling. But I understand now as a person that's, a little bit, um, I guess I've been through some things now, and I can see other people through my eyes. I say, that was me back then. I didn't think I could do that because I had this mental block. And if I just, would go ahead and do a little bit of work and forget about failing, because we all have mistakes, we all have errors. And I always say that's why pencils were created with erasers and keyboards have delete keys, because we all make mistakes. And that's okay. But you just have to realize that it's part of life, but just keep pushing through. And you'll be amazed how far you'll go.
But it's funny because when I first met you too, and as I start to get to know a little bit more about you and your story and all the things that you've faced, you were so generous when you had me on your show, and you kept talking about how much you appreciated, my life story and what I did. For those who are new to the program here, my short resume is this: I'm a 2-time college dropout and a former drug addict. And so I started life with a lot of self-imposed disabilities, if you want to say it that way. What I started with, I did it to myself. How do you keep from just getting angry with somebody like me when I face certain obstacles? And again, approaching at it from the mindset of a coach, because I think there are other folks that are in the same boat. They've created their own chaos, and now they turn to you for help. I still can't believe you could do that without just ripping us a new one, so to speak.
Well, Jim, a lot of times I will place myself in other people's shoes. I said, well, what if I didn't have this disability? Would I be as engaged as I have to be now? And sometimes the answer is yes, and other times the answer is no. Because I think a lot of times, even in my situation, I look at other people that have far more challenges than me. I said, man, I'm very grateful because I'm able to, open my eyes and breathe and, just do some minor things that a lot of other people may take for granted. So I think it really is all of us. My case is a little more defined and challenging, but I can guarantee you, there are things that I need to do myself to get better, because I'm like, wow, certain people may not be able to do things that I can do. And I feel bad that I'm like, man, you're slacking. You need to get up and do something for yourself, because that's not good enough. So I can understand others. But at the end of the day, I think we all just need to take a breath and say, you know what, okay, I may have not done exactly what I wanted to do yesterday, but guess what? This is a new day. And yesterday can be used as an example, as history for what I should do or want to again today. It's a continual process. It's not something that you can just say, well, I made it, because life is a constant struggle. And we all have to realize that, we're going to have good days and bad days along the way, but just keep going, learn from your so-called mistakes, and just continue to grow and just try to continue to get better as a person.
So if I'm hearing you right, there's a lot of forgiveness that has to go along with this, right? Forgiveness for, I know you keep calling them mistakes. I believe we talked about this a little bit on your show, because I don't like to glorify or glamorize the drug addiction part or the recovery part. A lot of people look at that, and I hate to say it this way, but kind of in heroic terms. And to me, it's not. I mean, meeting you, I've got a lot of friends that have similar conditions, and it's always amazing to me. It makes me look at myself a little bit differently. And but it has to do with letting go, doesn't it? And that's what forgiveness is all about. I keep hearing that in what you're saying, that you've got to kind of let go of what what obstacles or what challenges, you have or experience, whether or not you impose them on yourselves or like yourself when you were born with them. Am I way off base, or is that's somewhat in line?
Totally correct. I mean, I look at my example, there are certain things I'm like, man, I wish I could, did this better or did that better. But, as long as you try your best and you, like I just mentioned, learn from your mistakes, because a lot of times I don't think we realize, Jim, that we can help other people through our struggle, our stories, our setbacks, or whatever you may want to call it, because I think it's really, really important to be a good example or try to be. And, someone else that's coming along that may say, man, how did you get through this? How did you not become so angry? And I said, well, there are times that I was angry. I meant just not showing it, but I was very angry on the inside. And I went through my pain, but I said, well, you have two choices, Chris. Either you can take that anger and use it as something positive for other people and yourself, or you can just be bitter and no one's going to care about you anyway.
Right. Otherwise, it could destroy you right from inside. I mean, it's yeah. It's interesting too in the leadership space now. We're talking so much about compassion. I mean, people are very interested in that. And like you said, your experiences, caused you to see that. I'm glad that you shared that you get angry. That you've been angry at times. At the same time, putting your challenges aside, you've accomplished some incredible things. A degree in mathematics, for God's sake, I can't add and subtract, And so, everybody's got their different talents. But again, I don't want to let go of this special talent that you seem to have that, to me, rises above everything else you're talking about. That's that idea of compassion, that you have a true empathy, somewhat through your own experiences, but you're also really in tune with what's going on with other people. How really did you develop that for yourself? How did you really learn to look inside the heart and the soul of somebody else? And how can leaders adapt, your methodology, if you will, if you want to call it that?
That's a good question. I would basically just say that before, even though I had this condition in my mind, I was already going to be successful. No matter what challenge I set myself, I could see the end game. I said, I can see the finish line. For example, I used to be a runner, athlete, and I used to love running. And I did when I was younger, 1K, 3K, 5K. And I even did 8K back in 2002, a long time ago.
Yeah, that's just crazy, by the way. Running is crazy. I had to say that.
Yeah, honestly, when I did this, I already said to myself, I can see myself at the finish line. Mm-hmm. And my coach was there. He got me a couple runners to go with me, and we got started. I felt great, and I got past the first 3 miles, and then my leg just said, "Uh-oh,
yeah, we
are in deep trouble." But because I already had in my mind that I was going to finish the race, that I don't know what happened, but I just kept going and going and going. And despite the pain, despite the sweat, despite, having to stop and get a couple cups of water, during that last 200 yards, I could see the finish line. And I was like, I got to go. And all the pain that I had was like, it was there, but I just had to rise above it. Mm-hmm. And I got to the finish line. Looking back, I said, what the heck did you just do? Because I was in pain. My blisters on my feet, my legs were cramped. I barely could stand up. And the next day I had to rest the whole day just to, get out of bed.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that basically, you have to see the end game. You have to have a positive idea in the end, and then you gotta go to it. So basically, the key is that you first start with the vision that you want to have, and then just start doing it. I really can't emphasize that enough. It's amazing that if you just start doing things, how things will open up even if it is difficult, you're still making progress.
Right. So if I'm hearing you right, then somebody, if they commit themselves to be a more compassionate leader, for example, it's really about trying to create a vision of that. What do I look like? How am I going to behave? What, really, who am I going to be in that mold? Am I hearing you right?
Yes, yes. Vision is so very, very important because you can even trick yourself into being successful. I think,
Right.
I would say I'm a prime example because, if I hadn't told myself that I could, get a master's degree,
Hmm.
despite not being able to write, I said, you know what, I can do this. And even though it was a long, daunting task, I said, well, just take one class at a time and get through it. Another class, get through it. Another class, get through it. Because I can see the end game. I
Hmm.
was going to get that degree. I was going to walk down the platform, pick up my degree. But it just stuck with the vision and then hard work. And then, like I said, second step, adjustment along the way. It's not going to be a smooth road. Forget about that. It's not going to be easy, but just keep pressing. People will come along. You won't even expect it will help you. I mean, I've had so many people along the way that I didn't even know were coming to give me helping hands. But first, you have to decide that you want to help yourself, and you'll see that
Oh,
you'll
that's
make
that.
progress.
No, that's so important. I mean, being open to the help. I mean, that's part of what my recovery was all about, and still is. I mean, it's an ongoing process. But I'm still not going to let you off the hook about the running. And when we meet in person, I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. We're looking at some work in Baltimore, but that's just absolutely crazy. Most of my friends that do any kind of running, especially the distance running you're talking about, all those things you're talking about, the sore legs, the cramps, the blisters. Oh my God! See, that's why we get into martial arts. We learn how to fight so we don't have to run.
Yeah,
But let's get
and,
let's get back to the idea. You just touched on something that I wanted to ask you about. Actually, the idea of being open to that help, mentors, right? People that are willing to contribute in some way to your life, and more often than not, I found the most valuable ones had nothing to do with anything material. It was in fact very seldom. It was the people that really wanted to share something of themselves, right? Did you have some mentors to help you through this process, and especially to get the degree with the challenges you faced? And who were they, and how does somebody find these people?
uh, well, my education, standpoint, I had, in high school, some of my special ed teachers were very, very instrumental in, helping me to be strong and to have courage. And, they were, as I mentioned it, I think I was in K-12, it was, advised that I go to college and because I guess my teachers had seen enough to realize that maybe that was college material. And I just jumped on that because I always wanted to further my education. And I knew that it was a really great opportunity um, because I knew that even though I had a disability, that people could see that I was barely, I could, to talk, talk to myself or show people that I could do things beyond my disability that would earn, their trust and they'll earn a little respect, you know, for their from their standpoint, realizing that hey, this guy's okay. He may not be able to stand or may not be able to hold a pencil, but he can work around things. So education was so important because it gave me options to get around my disability. But as far as when I was in college, I had counselors that helped me. And when I got to the University of Maryland, I had professors that were very, very, um, they worked with me. I remember Dr. Sweet, Daniel Sweet, um, who's my analysis teacher, was very instrumental in helping me um, to find scribes to help me, get notes together for that class. So, I miss him very much. But of course, my parents were also very influential. I had great friends that helped me. But I think, Jim, it all begins again with the idea that if you seek things, as I mentioned before, it's amazing that how people will come into your life unexpectedly. But you just have to keep on trying and keep searching. I mean, right now, one of my mentors and my coaches is a guy, is Will Patterson.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, this man is incredible. I've been working with William for almost, I think about 7 years now. And he's been such a guide and such a light for me, giving me advice and just, helping me get to another level in my development as a leader, as a person, as a coach. So those are, definitely some people that have been in my sphere that helped me. Also, Monica Davis, who runs it's Touching on People magazine in French for years, and she's also been very, very influential in helping me to grow as a leader and business person.
I'm so glad you brought up Will's name. He was one of my first coaches when I got in the speaking business, and what a fantastic person! So many accomplishments, and just a warm and caring person. And it seems so much that these folks, and this is certainly true in my life. When we find these folks, these mentors especially, they reflect back sometimes a little different vision of ourselves than we see in ourselves, don't they? They can give us a different perspective, and sometimes it's much bigger than the one that we feel is in front of us, huh?
Oh, definitely. He created, a game plan for me that was, surpassed my even idea of what I could do. Sort of like my conditions. I'm like, wow, really, really gonna do all this? Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
It's great because it gives me even more to strive for because, like you said, sometimes our own idea of ourselves can be short-sighted or even limited. So to have someone else with that expertise that can, brighten your vision is very, very, very helpful.
Now, there's something. This may be difficult, but something I think would be very informative for leaders out there that are dealing with folks that have special needs or challenges. And it's interesting because I think in general, the general population tends to lump folks with special needs into a big bucket. Yet there's such a diversity there, right? Were you ever treated? You're such a remarkable thinker, and you're such an accomplished academic, and at the same time, were you ever treated as if your mental capabilities weren't on par or superior to most of ours, as we can say? If we get into the math, we'll find that out really quick. And if so, how do you? Is there something you can share with leaders to help them treat people appropriately when they're dealing with folks that have special needs in the workplace?
Well, it's definitely a very loaded question, Jim, because I have experienced tremendous, I guess, experience. Yeah, this experiences that I had in my life with people that may not have known anything about cerebral palsy or anything about me. For example, sometimes I may get into a taxi or and the driver, well, if a person is like walking with me to the taxi, the first thing that the driver may ask the other person is, where is he going? Where is he going? And I say, hello, sir, I can speak too.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to immediately just explore that mental thinking, and a lot of times our friends that were with me like, why don't you ask him?
Right, exactly.
Not me. But a lot of times it happens. And as a youngster, I used to get upset about it, because I was like, I want to be treated just like, blah, blah, blah. But then as I get older, I was like, people just don't understand. And sometimes ignorance is, it happens. So don't take it personally. So I always would try to start a conversation and then blow their mind about, a certain topic that they might not know that I had any idea about. So then it's just, wow, you know how I speak this language, or you know how to do this, or you're a mathematician. So it kind of breaks the ice, and then we can just say, well, yes, sir. When I get to my stop, can you please help me open the door? Help me stand, please. I'll be fine. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess, wow, it's one of the most difficult challenges I have as far as being out in society and people not knowing how to address me or how to speak to me or being fearful of me because I may, look a little different. It's very, very tough, Jim. I cannot shrink that. It's very, very tough. But you just have to be resilient and just be, have to fight and just show people what you can do. And I realize in life that we all have things that, others may not, necessarily understand or, I guess, pick up on, but it's just part of life. You just have to keep going.
It sounds too like the sense of humor that you have, helps with that as well. And to me, humor and compassion go hand in hand. I always appreciated, one of my favorite shows is The Big Bang Theory, and Stephen Hawking, who they make fun of mercilessly on the show, and then he appears as a guest, and he has such a good sense of humor about that. I think that can be very disarming, and I hope that people appreciate that. When you can do that, you can break, like you said, you can break the ice that way, and hopefully people can then have some access, right, to reach in a little bit deeper and understand a little bit deeper.
Oh, definitely. It's nothing like, good humor and good education.
Yeah. Listen, we only have a couple minutes. Obviously, we have to have you back on the show as a regular. There's a lot of things that we need to talk about. I know you said that before when I was on your show too. So let's make this a fairly regular occurrence. Are there some things you know what, before we wrap up too, we have to make sure people understand how to get in touch with you if they'd like to access your services, because you're doing speaking, you're doing coaching, in addition to your duties at the college. You've got a lot of work to do.
Yes, I'm pretty busy. I try to stay busy as best I can. But yes, your audience members can contact me at www.overcomeyourlimits.com. I have a couple of videos and podcasts. I was very fortunate, as you mentioned, to have you on the show for a session. Also, of course, I'm on Facebook under Overcome Limits. And I also have a coaching program. So there's a lot going on. And just very, very, very happy to be on the show, Jim. Thank you.
And you're easy to find. I should tell people that. But make sure, because when we were doing Google searches, if you're looking for Chris, he's not the weight loss guy. That's the other Chris Powell, right? So our Chris Powell is going to help you overcome your limits. The other guy's going to help you lose weight. So you have to make sure we know that. Chris, I look so forward to meeting you in person. I really do believe that's going to happen soon, and we've got good work to do together. So I hope we keep this connection going, keep it fresh.
Thank you, Jim. It's been an honor being on your show.
All right. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for listening to Walking the Walk. Please share this episode. We encourage you to download and share the program with both experienced and aspiring leaders in your network. We also encourage you to suggest guests for future episodes. Complete information at walkingthewalkpodcast.com. Jim Bouchard is in high demand, presenting keynotes and workshops for conference, corporate, and community audiences all over the world. To book Jim for your next event, meeting, or retreat, visit thatblackbeltguy.com or call Alexandra Armstrong at 207-751-4317.